Well, joining us now is the Conservative MP for Reigate, Rebecca Paul. Rebecca, good morning. Thank you for coming on the show this morning. Now, back in July, it was hugely controversial when a number of MPs laid an amendment in actually the crime and policing bill, so nothing to do with abortion, to decriminalise all abortion to term. How did you feel when that went through the House of Commons, and what do you think the next step is for this bill in the House of Lords?
I was really shocked. It took us all by surprise. We didn't know this was happening. It was pushed through in a crime and policing bill, and we actually had only 46 minutes, I think it was, to debate it. And I remember my speech being cut short. So I think it's absolutely horrifying that something so significant, a biggest change to abortion law, can go through on the hoof in that way.
46 minutes is frankly offensive, Rebecca.
I agree, and a lot of us didn't even know it was coming. So I think it was only a few days before that I realised that this amendment had been tabled, and I spent that weekend trying to get the message out. And one of the really important things that everyone needs to remember is that it quickly becomes ideological. So people think this is about those people that support abortion and those people that don't support abortion. So I support abortion, but I also want abortion to be done in a safe way. And the challenge with decriminalisation of abortion in combination with a pills by post scheme is that we basically lose the deterrent for women to not intentionally mislead on the phone around the term of their pregnancy. And also we lose the deterrent for males that might actually coerce their partners or women that are sex trafficked into performing late-term abortions. So I very much support abortion. You know, I would fight for those rights. I would be marching on the streets for those rights. But I recognise that decriminalisation, particularly in combination with a very dangerous pill by post scheme, is frankly reckless and dangerous. We would never give chemotherapy pills to a cancer patient without expecting a doctor to check them over and make sure they've got cancer in the first place and make sure it's appropriate. But that's exactly what we are doing with women seeking an abortion.
So can you explain how this pills by post scheme has come into force? Because it hasn't always been the case that women could have an abortion without a face-to-face appointment with a clinician.
That's exactly right. So during the pandemic, it was recognised that it was very difficult for women to access abortion. And so I can almost understand during the pandemic why temporary provisions were put in place to make it a bit easier. So women were able to phone up over the phone and have an over the telephone conversation about where they were in their pregnancy, and then the pills would be sent in the mail. But then what happened is once the pandemic was over, I think there were groups that obviously have been pushing for increased access, and it was actually shockingly made permanent after the pandemic, which I think is unforgivable of Parliament, because it's a dangerous, unsafe way to deliver healthcare. And I do understand why they did it in the pandemic, but it should have been put to a stop in 2022. And one of the things we're seeing, one of the arguments we'll often hear from people supporting decriminalisation of abortion and that support pills by post is that there have been increasing numbers of women being prosecuted for late-term abortion. But if you actually look at the facts, the only reason we have had more women end up in court over this is as a result of the pills by post scheme. So rather than addressing the actual root cause, which is the pill by post scheme, we have got groups pushing to decriminalise abortion and further increase that access and push the boundaries. And I think in this country, I think we're largely comfortable with where we've got to with abortion law. It's really difficult. It's a really sensitive topic. Lots of people will have different views on where the line should sit, but I think we are in a good place right now, and I think groups are taking advantage and trying to push to a more extreme position that most people in this country do not want. They do not want to see the decriminalisation of late-term abortions.